Get my slideshow started. Okay, so I wanted to welcome everybody to this webinar. This is our third webinar in our series for the Idaho Learning Partnership. And if you haven't had the opportunity to watch our previous presentations, they are all located on the ILP webpage. And if you don't have a link to that, you will get one after I get around to posting. Oop, I need to record this.
I hit the record button for you,
Oh,
Roger.
thank you.
No
I'm
worries.
just, suddenly I'm like, oh. So anyway, so I will send out a link to everybody to this webinar, and it will also include on the same webpage all the others. So you'll be able to review those. We've had some changes at the commission, so there'll be also some additional changes I'll be making to the webpage this week. And Randy has moved to North Carolina, and so we'll update that information because it's still reflecting his information on there. But we wish Randy and his family the very best in North Carolina. And so those updates will be done. Today, we're going to talk about discussing with veterans, discussing connecting veterans with resources. And this is from what I foresee as your position as higher education connectors. And so as we get into this, before we get started, please remember, if you have a question, a comment, a story, please interrupt me and or put a comment in the chat, and we'll address that at that point in time. There's no need to wait till the very end. And so our desired outcomes are to define our purpose. What does this mean, connecting veterans with resources? And we're going to identify what those resources are and how you can support, how these resources support our veterans. And then lastly, we have a special guest with us, Allison from Mission 43. She's going to have the last few slides to show you a little bit about her organization and how they support Mission 4, our veterans, and what does Mission 43 do. So first, let's talk about what is the purpose. This is very important because we want to know why, right? So everybody wants to know the why. What's the purpose of all of this? This grant supports our adult learners, but it additionally focuses on veterans in our communities. And a lot of times those veterans have skill sets and don't really are not aware of what is available to them. And sometimes the challenges that our military members face are unique. Now, I've heard anywhere from 1% to less than 10%. I think Idaho has a higher percentage of veterans within their communities. But nationally, 1% of our population will actually serve in the military. And so sometimes our military members face some very unique challenges. For example, I had a young man who worked for me when I was at one place, and I went over to his house. He had lived in the barracks the whole time and moved out of his parents' house into the barracks on base, had been on multiple military installations. He was in his mid to late 20s. And I went over to his house, and it was fall, it was getting cold, and he didn't have his heat on. He never went to the utility company to turn his heat on, because he didn't know that he was supposed to do that. And so sometimes, we're just missing vital parts of information that just seems logical to us. I had another young man call me, and he had moved off base, and he thought somebody was playing a joke on him. We play lots of jokes on our military members sometimes when they arrive at a new location. I once sent somebody, we had an airplane coming in, and we told him that the runway was not long enough and he needed to go to a different organization and get a ramp extender. And so he's running around trying to find a ramp extender to extend the runway. And everybody had a lot of fun at his expense. However, this guy called me and he said that he was just told that he had to pay for water and that nobody pays for water, and he thought this company was playing a joke on him. So some of it is a little bit humorous in these gaps in people's knowledge, and but sometimes they can be quite serious, not understanding the level of support that it's available. So we want to understand the levels of support, and that begins. I'm identifying three levels of support really: the federal, state, and also private or civilian organizations will fill in the third level. So we're going to identify three levels of support on how they can help out veterans. And hopefully, if someone's living in our communities, they understand about turning utilities on, but they may not understand fully about their educational benefits that are available to them. So identifying some of the options available for a vet uh, may be enough to get them started in the right direction. And that's our ultimate goal. The options that are available to them may be a government, civilian, or even a combination of the two. And there is a web of support and with various expertise available. There is so many things that sometimes we get lost in this, and the veteran may just get completely inundated with that. And so sometimes just pointing them in the right direction may be enough to get them started. But what it is not, and this is what really needs to be highlighted, this is not to make you the go-to expert, right? So sometimes once we offer somebody some direction and it works out, they then begin to think that you are the person with all the answers. And I know that the individuals that I have talked to typically will come back to me again and again and again saying, well, you were right before, how about this now? And I'm not the expert, right? Sometimes I'm just fumbling along just like the next guy. And so I don't want you to think that this will make, information is power. You guys are librarians. You understand that. You have people coming up to you all the time asking for information. And this is no different than that. So the first step is the federal government. The VA administration is all things for veterans, benefits for service members, and it runs the gambit, right? You'll find all kinds of assistance, housing assistance, educational assistance, medical assistance, and you also find other things like frustration, irritation, and confusion. You can find them all at the VA. I processed out of the military here in Boise, and then I went back 6 or 7 months later to see about getting, on board with my medical and things. And they told me we still show you as active duty, so there's nothing we can do for you. And I was like, but I processed out here. And they said, nope, you're still active duty. So I had to I didn't bring my discharge paperwork. So I brought that back in, got all set up. And they said, you'll receive a letter in the mail with your next appointment. At the time, I was living in Mountain Home, and I received a letter that said, welcome to the VA. Your next appointment is on such and such a date in Mountain Home, Tennessee. And so it's like a little bit of a commute there, right? So sometimes you finally can get into where you want to go, and you just end up with a little bit more frustration. but you have to stay with it. For example, there was a Army vet that I know that I've helped over the years, and he came out. He had uh, worked. He was in the Army, and for many years he worked in the civilian world, and then he was disabled. And because he was disabled, he didn't have any health insurance, and I suggested he go to the VA. So he didn't keep any of his paperwork. He had lost them over the years. And so he showed up at the VA, and there was nothing. He wasn't in the system. He wasn't in anywhere. And it took him a probably 7 or 8 visits until someone found him in the system, in the computer, and they can show that he was in the Army. They can show him when he was in the Army and that he had an honorable discharge. But as far as all of his medical records and all of his history was lost. And to this day, they still can't find it. Now, because of that and because of his persistence, they were able to get him medical coverage. And so he does get some medical benefits through the VA, but it has been a very long process for him. So you just have to stay with it. The VA has everything a veteran needs, and then with some additional things that they really would prefer not to have. But we just have to be very um, consistent in checking in with them. Now the state is interesting. State governments have a unique role in veteran support. The National Guard, for example, and which is often called to support the active duty, they are that is a function in the state. And so, but each state has very different benefits to veterans. And so in Idaho, the primary the the primary support agency is the Idaho Division of Veteran Services. Their webpage, which is I've posted the webpage address here, has a whole host of information and options to support the vet. But what some people don't really may not realize is that there are other agencies that also provide support for our veterans. For example, the Department of Labor. They offer job information, workforce development through job training, and also other options. I know for me personally, when I got out of the Air Force and settled back into Idaho, they were absolutely instrumental in getting me information about jobs and opportunities that were available to me. Uh, they also have the veteran representatives that will provide a lot of information, daily emails for job hunting. They'll answer questions, providing a whole host of support for the veterans through the Department of Labor. Now, of course, there are probably certainly other agencies that provide support to our Idaho veterans, and these are just two examples that we've highlighted. But the state government plays an instrumental role in getting our veterans settled into the community. The civilian organizations are absolutely vital, and they've changed a lot. I remember going to the local VFW with my dad to shoot pool, and as I was getting ready to get out, I was talking to a veteran one time, and I asked him if he was part of any civilian organizations like the VFW, and his response kind of surprised me at the time. And he stated why he didn't or wouldn't go to the VFW was, he said, because that was from my father's war. And so he had a very specific point of view from the what I'm calling traditional organizations, and I certainly do not want to take away from what these organizations have provided our vets in the past. The American Legion, VFW, DAV, I think have all been very, very important and still do carry an important role in supporting our veterans. However, times have changed and so have the veterans' needs. there are a whole host of organizations that support our veterans, including the American Legion, the VFW, and the DAV. If on the list of or the Idaho Veterans Services has a link for veteran organizations, and if you were to click on that link, there is more than 30 organizations that are identified just on that one page. And they all support vets in various ways. And I think that's just a small sample in terms of the national picture, right? So there's more than just those 30. Some of them are specific, like such as the Vietnam Veterans Association, and much more wide range, such as Mission 43, which a lot of these younger veterans are looking for different organizations that are more up to date to what they're looking for. And so, but they're all there. And at this link right here indicates that there are a tremendous number of support agencies that are out there. Now, some of the things is I don't want to say that there's not turf wars, but many organizations are, I will say that both the government as well as the civilian organizations, the main goal is to provide support for the military member and for the veteran. Nobody gets any significant benefit out of denying help. And so most of these organizations are all working together for the same results. And so they simply want to get the veteran access to the benefits that they are due. So for example, the VA offers veteran advocates. And when you walk into a VA to get support, one of their advocates will help you navigate this process. But also the DAV offers advocates to walk you through the process of getting into the VA and getting support. So they are both working to get the veteran the support that they need and to guide them through this process, because it can be a process and it can be very time consuming. And so they all do that. Now, it's not just the organization advocates that working for it. There's also these things called peer support. And this is what's really important in terms of both the government and civilian organizations. And I'll use this example. Veteran suicide is a national concern. And on all three levels, these organizations are offering peer support and help. And so it is a serious problem that veterans are struggling with, and peer support is one way that we're reaching out and providing that. So not only is support available for the vet, it's also available for the family. And a lot of times I think that the family members are forgotten, right? But they carry the weight and also some of the struggles that they've had for years with following the veteran everywhere. I served in the Air Force for 30 years. We've had, I think it was 24 moves. And so my wife moved every time with me. And over those 24 moves, there was 3 moves that she made completely by herself when I was gone. And so all of those things do weigh on the family. And there's a tremendous amount of family support through all of those organizations, both government and civilian. So those are the 3 areas that I wanted to highlight in terms of how directing. So if a veteran comes into your library and says, I'm a vet, but I have no skills, I have no educational benefits, these are some of the ways that we may find out that you can direct them with. I just, it is amazing to me at how many veterans who have gotten out of the military and have not processed through the VA. And people just don't understand how long term that happens. I 2 years ago, I had a sister-in-law that I had never met. She was from the Philippines. She had married my brother-in-law, and he lived over in the Philippines and died. And so he had never processed through the VA, and so was completely left with no support whatsoever. She had a small child. She was completely at a loss in terms of his his retirement pay, what would happen with this to support for his child. And so she came to Idaho, and we were able to work through the VA and also out through Mountain Home Air Force Base to get her registered as a dependent of his and get some support. And so all of these organizations can help with and provide for that. And one of those organizations that we're going to talk about, and I'm going to turn it over to Allison at this point, is Mission 43. And so, Allison, I'll turn that over to you, and you can direct me whenever you want me to hit play or whatever to advance to the next slide.
Sure. Thank you so much, Roger. I think it's a good time to hit play. Sorry, I don't know if you were able to hear that. It has like fancy sound that goes along with it. But I think our next slide would be a little bit more all-encompassing.
Oh,
Whoops.
there we go.
So we're Mission 43. We're a local organization that's fully funded by the J.A. and Catherine Albertson Family Foundation. Our focus is, generally speaking, post 9/11 veterans. So kind of that younger crew of veterans that are really kind of in a transitionary phase. So whether they're still serving, whether they're guard or getting out of the military, or they've been out of the military for a little bit, but they qualify as post 9/11 veterans, we connect with them as well as their families. So spouses, dependent children in the areas of education, employment, and engagement. In normal times, we have really great things going on right now. Because of COVID, that's obviously not the case. So we've had to switch a bit of our engagement pieces to virtual engagement pieces. But a bit of what you saw in that video is like our very short wrap up of 2019 with some of our incredible speaker series that we bring in and have people do, because we want to create a sense of community. I think, Roger, you mentioned earlier, peer support is a very big thing, that when veterans leave the military and when their families leave the military, they don't always have that military family that you created, your tight-knit group that you chose to be your family while you're in. You don't have that generally when you leave. So we're trying to bring that back and make this civilian community veteran friendly. So we'll have speakers come in that are usually top known people in the veteran community. One of the biggest that we've had, I don't know if anybody knows, but we had Rudy Reyes. If you've ever watched, I think it was Band of Brothers. It was Band of Brothers. He was on it. He played himself. It was hilarious. Well, he is hilarious. The show was not so much hilarious, but so big people like that, very motivational. We also do a lot of networking events. So coffee hours, happy hours, hiking, biking, running type things. Some of our biggest are the Miles of Remembrance that we host every year. And then we also offer veterans and their families to become pillars of their community. So we do a free leaders fellowship that's really exclusive. And it's a very immersive 1-year long leadership development course that's completely free. And they have, again, speakers coming in, working on leadership. They do a service project. There's a hike involved. So it's just a really great kind of all aspects program. And with that, everything that we do is completely free for our veterans. Like I said, we're fully funded. So we don't ask for money from our members. That's not what we're looking for. We're here as a service organization. On the employment side of things, we work with Hire Heroes USA. Hire Heroes USA is pretty incredible. Here in Idaho, they are able to offer some really special things that they're not able to offer nationwide. So not only are they going to help a veteran and their spouse write a resume from start to finish, whether they've got one and it just needs to be tailored, or whether they have no idea and they're sitting there with their EPRs or their ratings from the military, like, help me, they'll get translated. So they can translate that into a civilian resume or a federal resume or both. It depends on what they're looking for, completely, again, from scratch for free. They also do networking workshops because, as we know in Idaho, it's a lot about who you know, not so much as what you know, and maybe a little bit of both. So networking workshops that are just huge, connecting them directly with Idaho employers. They do mock interviews, and 9 times out of the 10, a mock interview workshop will end up with people employed out of it. They have transition specialists that are here local. They have some up north, and our 2021 plan, I'm sure we're going to get out east. So we have all these things that they can do. Right now, we will serve anybody in Idaho, either virtually or in person. And then on the education side of things, we, as you know, when you can think back to high school, you're really prepped from day one about going to college. And from day one, this is a pathway you can take. These are careers that you can do. What do you like? Here's some career tests. But when people join the military, college isn't always the focus. And so bringing it back to building that support system and building the idea again of going and returning to school and having someone that can help you build that path, that's what we do. So we will tailor it completely to a veteran's needs, to service members' needs that's transitioning, to a spouse's needs. I've talked to children of veterans before. Really, it's just a personalized plan of here are some options. So whether it's higher education on the college side, if it is going to school and getting technical education, if it's using voc rehab to get education, then leading to employment, if it's skill ups, if it's you're wanting to start your own business but have no idea how to, we'll help you there. So we have some exclusive programs, again, free. We work with the BSU Venture College to offer an exclusive entrepreneurship program that's about, I think it's about 10 weeks long, and that will start up next year. And they are very connected within the community. They're able to give their pitches. That is going to extend to, of course, right now it's Treasure Valley, but in 2021, we're going to offer virtual options. So people in rural communities can still take part in this without actually having to be here, because we understand that's a barrier. And then on top of that, we work with BSU for airmen that are still in term and trying to complete their CCAF that have no idea where to start and don't even know that you could do it online very quickly in less than a year. We work with that. We're working on a military spouse partnership program so that they can take advantage of my CAA, which is a little bit more free money for education for spouses, and then maybe meeting some gaps there. Entrepreneurship, I mentioned that. And then Skill Up is going to be another big focus that we're doing, and we'll have free licenses for people to get onto Skillsoft and be able to take some of these higher industry standard courses like PMP, SHRM, PHR, your Security Plus, and all those networking techie things that I know nothing about, but I know they're very popular. They'll be able to take those programs for free through us. So everything that we do, like I said, we are a statewide initiative. Everything that we do, we can do in person, but we can also do virtually. And we're just a really good resource for getting your veterans connected in the community. If they're not looking to go back to school, totally understand. But if they're looking to advance themselves, get employed, just become part of the community, I definitely recommend just referring them our way. Like I said, it's free to join. We don't expect anything from them. And we'll actually send out some really cool swag along the way with that. A hat, a cup, some really cool things, stickers, t-shirts galore. My information is down there, my email. You can contact me directly if you ever have any questions or if anyone has questions. And then of course our website, and it'll have different sections that you can visit to see exactly what it is that we offer. And with that, I will stop taking up so much of your time.
Excellent. Thank you, Allison. So does anyone have any questions or comments? And if not, then I think that's going to end our webinar for today. And like I said, I will be communicating with you via an email here, and I'll send out the link for this recording. And please contact me if you have any questions. And we'll probably be soliciting some updates as we get ready to move into the month of November. I can't believe it's already the month of November. And get ready for our next webinar in the month of November.